Hey everyone, my name's Siobhan. I'm from the marketing team here at Vervoe. It's my pleasure this morning to be bringing you some comments and some tips from two of our team here who work directly with our clients to help support them through their hiring processes. Today, we're really going to focus on how our clients have taken their hiring process online and how that might translate as you take your processes virtual as well. So I'll let my team introduce themselves. We've got Jen and Stacie. Jen, would you like to start off to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Shellef. I head our customer solutions department here at Vervoe. I actually was hired remotely almost about 3 years ago using our own platform. So I've been working remotely for that long and have experience helping our customers hire and set up their processes. So really excited to, answer questions and give you some insight on how to get that, done and started.
Cool. And I'm Stacie Garland. I also work in Jen's team. I work in the Melbourne office and actually am currently working remotely in Brisbane. So I'm helping our customers get set up with their online assessments and really testing the right skills remotely for their customers or their candidates as well. So I'm really keen to share what I've learned so far to help you get everything sorted too.
Oh, thanks, ladies. All right, let's start things off. As you mentioned, you both work with clients to help them hire remotely. You've both been doing so for a couple of years. So my first question for you, what have you seen be the major sort of drivers behind why our clients are starting to take their hiring processes remotely?
Sure, I'll answer that first. So with the customers that I've worked with closely, it's really about the reach, right? Because nowadays there's just so much talent out there. And you don't want to limit yourself locally. So taking it online, taking it remotely just gives you more options, gives you that opportunity to discover talent abroad in other locations that might benefit your culture and your company in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I've also seen from this side of the world, I guess it enables more efficiency as well, rather than having to have everyone come into the same office. As Jen said, you can get people from multiple different areas that have different expertise, but it allows it to be more efficient for everything to be done remotely and online, rather than having in-person interviews with every single person that takes an hour. You can do so much more when it's done virtually.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies. So the next part I wanted to raise, I wanted to understand practically, what does remote hiring actually mean? What does it look like?
Remote hiring. So, sorry, you want to go?
No, you go.
Totally fine. So, for me, and I think, for many, remote hiring is just taking that process virtually, hiring people that don't necessarily have to come into the office. They can work practically from anywhere in the world as long as they have a computer. So if that role doesn't require them to physically be in the office, you can set up a process to hire them remotely without having them come into the office. You can take every single part of the process online. Nowadays, we have those tools to facilitate that. So that's what it is in a nutshell, I guess.
I think, our clients have a broad range of roles in terms of the industry, the seniority of the position, the actual role itself. So I think if you have the right processes and the right team set up to hire remotely, any role can be done remotely as long as you have a computer and stable internet connection and, I guess, the right tools in order that help you to do that. We're not siloed to any particular industry or any particular role, so it can really be as broad or general and expansive as any client's need.
So you guys have mentioned a few tools, what have you seen clients specifically implement as part of that process from start to finish? What kind of tools are we talking about here? We're obviously one of them, and we're going to mention that, we look after part of it, but how do we fit into the landscape of the practicality of what remote hiring?
Yeah, I guess it really depends on the customer. So we have customers that do the whole process up into essentially a face-to-face one-on-one interview remotely and online. So that would be the advertisement, skills assessment, booking in for an assessment centre if that's required. Some customers in today's world are even doing their assessment centres online as well, and then face-to-face interviews. So the whole process can really be put virtually or through an online platform or different technology. So it really depends on the customer. But is there anything that you want to add, Jen?
No, I think you pretty much mentioned everything. I mean, in terms of specifically tools, I mean, a lot of them are using an ATS, for example, just posting these jobs on job boards or social media, having an assessment tool as part of the process, using something like ours. And then, they even go, yes, from face to face. They're using Zoom, for example, a meeting tool. And then even checking references. There are tools out there that allow them to do that virtually instead of, having a phone call or whatever it is. But I think every step of the process nowadays can be done virtually, easily.
And so through your experience, you've obviously see things go really well and see clients with a lot of challenges. What is one thing that clients should know before they start to take this hiring process online?
It's a good question. It is a good question. Well, they have to come in with an open mind, right? Because taking everything online is just different for a lot of people. It's not just looking at resumes or relying on resumes alone. It's really trusting the process. Technology for some doesn't come as easily. It's hard to get used to. So it's really about coming with an open mind, ready to try something new. Trust the process, really, to allow yourself to really get the experience. And really, when you're thinking about taking it online, it's considering the candidate experience, right? You have to try to think about the process, what you're going to do, test it out yourself, see how you would feel as you set up this process, making sure that if you are using an assessment tool, that if you are asking questions, that these questions are relevant to the role, that candidate can see what it really is to work in your organization, understand your culture, whatever that may be. So you just really need to consider every single process, every single step. How do you want to present yourself? And really, again, having that open mind. I mean, we've seen, companies who've, it's been hard for them to adopt a new process because there's a lot of people in the organization that are just not used to using tech. And they say, well, let's not take the human element out of it. They feel like they need to have more control, and they feel like using these tools is taking that control away. When in fact, it really isn't. It's just helping them. It's just making them more efficient. And just as long as they have an open mind, it's about educating the organization and getting everybody on board. So, I mean, that's what I've seen as probably the most challenges that we've seen with our customers. But, we help them along the way. And as long as they have a champion, it usually, they can get past that and reap the benefits.
Yeah, and I think just adding to those points, we've actually found that some of our customers or candidates applying for roles with our customers actually feel more human interaction with an online experience because there's an opportunity to inject the brand into every single stage of the process. Things can be a lot quicker, so you can get feedback a lot quicker because you're not waiting for people in-person interviews. So there's actually more opportunity to make it, I guess, a better candidate experience from that perspective. So as long as you have everything set up and you've got an open mind and really get a tight process for everything to be done virtually, it can really have a lot of benefits that you don't see with those face-to-face interactions or waiting for people to come into the office.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies. I think you started to address some of the common challenges that you see clients go through. I kind of want to hone it in exactly on assessments. That's what we do. That's what we're good at. What are the big no-nos, the real challenges that people have faced in starting to implement assessments? What are the things that have really challenged them, not gone so well, and how have they started to overcome those?
I think one of the things that we see the most is getting the head around opening it up to everyone and every candidate that comes through. So we want to use assessments top of funnel, and it's really idea or opening their mind to not screening a resume and then inviting particular people in, and that's a real I guess a mindset shift where we want to assess everyone and give everyone the opportunity to show what they can do or how they can execute the role, and that's probably the biggest challenge that we help our customers overcome. Once they've overcome that, they actually they see the benefit in opening it up to everyone and not screening resumes or choosing a select few of candidates to actually open it up to. So that's probably, from my perspective, the biggest thing that we have to help our clients with.
Yeah. And to her point, it's just that control, right? Like, it's hard for them to let go. They're so used to that traditional process where they review their resumes, and it's just really like they feel they have to look at that first, when really they don't. I mean, it's just, a piece of the puzzle. They can definitely look at it, but don't let it be the only thing that guides you through deciding who should move on to the next process. let the system do the work, let everybody take the assessment. You might be pleasantly surprised, and usually that's the result. A lot of times, we hear our employers say, wow, I can't believe, we ended up hiring someone I would have never hired. Once they reviewed their responses and they go and they look at the resume, they're like, okay, this is amazing. So really that's just Stacie said, that's the challenge. It's just getting all our customers at times just to really use it at top of the funnel. And that's what we try to push.
Thanks. I think we honed in a little bit about creating a smooth process, but I kind of want to hone in on that, apart from changing different parts of the hiring process and selecting different tools. How have you seen clients create that smooth process to recruit through the virtual methods?
I think it's very similar to, the traditional process where you need to move fast and make it really tight and not, I guess, make sure that you're consistently recruiting and not waiting to get back on candidates, for a week or 2 weeks, because, the good candidates or people who are really strong at the role will be offered other opportunities. So it's still maintaining that momentum in the process and not relaxing that just because it's gone virtually or online.
Yeah. If anything, it's most important now to just really communicate and keep the communication lines strong. If you think back on years ago, whenever you applied, or even today, it happens where you don't hear back. You have no idea. And it's just such a poor experience for the candidates. And it's just not a great feeling and not a good look for your company either when you can't get back to a candidate. So really, it's just, like she says, tightening that process. That's really important.
Okay, and we've had a look at, as Stacie mentioned, we see assessments being part of the puzzle at the top of the hiring funnel. I'd love to get your perspective on where different solutions or different online methods fit into the overall hiring process, what an ideal sort of flow would look like for a client.
Okay, so I can start. I guess an ideal flow, and just seeing from customers that have been really successful, on our platform. Some of them are using an ATS. They are sourcing their candidates really from, depending on the type of role, they're sourcing in the right locations and making sure they communicate that job in a clear way in their job description. It's really important that it starts from the job description, right? Making sure that they, express the culture in some way, whether it's video, some kind of marketing tool, making sure that they're posting ads in relevant places, whether it's for a specific role. So it really depends on where they post. It's important for them to understand where they're posting their roles. So they're using an ATS, so they're posting directly to job boards or social media. And then after that, it's using an assessment tool, right? So they start using us. They let all the candidates come through, take an assessment. The assessment that they use is important. It's making sure that assessment really uses questions that really show what the role is like. Testing those scenarios that they're going to encounter in the actual job, letting them feel what it would be like to be in that role. And then really giving them that time, usually the candidate's completed in 4 days, making sure that you get back to the candidate, whether you are progressing them or you're rejecting them, right? Our AI will rank the candidates based on the performance. The recruiters can come in and decide who they want to progress to the next stage. Have that conversation with them, whether it's a face-to-face or phone interviews, whatever it is, and then move them on to the hiring manager. And after that, it really all depends on them, whether they're checking references online or whatever that might be, or an assessment center, for example. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I would love to get your perspective on one last thing, which is, what do you think is next to take online? What's the next thing in the hiring process? Stacie, and I don't know, Jen, if you've been talking to clients recently, obviously with the move to push everything remote at the moment. We've talked to some clients about moving assessment centers online, removing the physical boundaries altogether. So I wondered if you had any comments about how that started to work and what you see as the next steps in moving things like that online.
Yeah, and I think you've already alluded to it in that I'm speaking with a lot of customers at the moment to bring group interviews or assessment centres online as well, and working through a few different ways that we can assist in doing that. I think because of the changing landscape of today's world, everything from recruitment to onboarding to training and then to management will be taken remotely and online as well, just to minimise, obviously, the risk in today's world, but also it could be a pivotal moment in many industries where you actually realise that okay, we can actually do these roles remotely, and we can actually do the whole process, and everyone can kind of work where they want, when they want, and not see a reduction in productivity, or you can still, get the same results from that. So I think although, today's world is a little bit uncertain, it's also quite exciting in that we could see a really big shift in quite a few industries.
Yeah, she summed it up nicely. I mean, we have the tools. Is now we just have to get everybody to use them. And I think this is just now is the time. Everybody's being pushed into it. Really, there's just no choice, and you don't want to slow down, and you don't want to miss out on talent. So, you're going to use what's available. And really, today, I think it's all online. It's all possible. It's just finding those tools, deciding on the process together as a team. And agreeing on it and actually implementing it and adopting it really well and making sure that candidate experience is top notch. And it really it depends on what you do, how you do it. And you'll get the best results just using the right tools that make the most sense for you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jen and Stacie, for giving your time today to shed some light on what our clients are doing. You mentioned that they're using Vervoe as part of their solution, but there are so many different tools and options out there. Just to reiterate what Jen said, as long as you're choosing the right process, working together and finding the right solution for you, online hiring can be a real success. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Thanks for having us.